Vocative.
The numbers are staggering.
In this particular cooler are the remains of about 100 unidentified migrants.
Since 2001, more than 2,000 dead migrants have spent time on these shelves.
What we end up with is basically, in southern Arizona, a mass fatality disaster every single year.
Even more confounding, 830 of these bodies remain unidentified.
So it's almost like having a plane crash every single year, but you don't have the passenger manifest. You don't know who is among those dead that have been recovered.
One thing that is known, the pursuit of the American dream cost them their lives.
This particular case is fragmented remains, and it consists of essentially this skull.
Welcome to the Pima County Medical Center in Tucson, Arizona, the busiest morgue in the country for migrant deaths.
The unidentified remains are here for as long as it takes for us to finish with our examinations and investigation.
This is the end of a journey that begins about an hour south at the US-Mexico border.
And you can see a trail starting from the top of the hill and leading all the way down here, and you could see backpacks, you could see water bottles.
692.
Border Patrol agents caught more than 120,000 migrants trying to make this trek last year. Nearly 200 others died.
This was the first time in 4 years that we had seen an increase in deaths. It really is due to the fact that the smugglers are pushing people out to more remote areas and taking more chances with the lives of the people that are crossing. A lot of times when Border Patrol agents in the Tucson sector encounter a dead body, they've died due to exposure to the elements, whether it's hypothermia in the cold, or in many cases here, it's dehydration in the heat. It's extremely dangerous for anyone to be walking out here. You physically can't carry enough water to sustain yourself while you're crossing in an area like this.
And so the bodies pile up.
The reason it's a problem is because people are unidentified. They have a reason to use an alias if they're apprehended.
A few years ago, Pima County was so overwhelmed with cases of unidentified remains that it had to build another cold room to deal with the overflow.
Border Patrol changed their enforcement patterns over time in response to illegal crossing activity and made it more difficult to cross in those heavily populated areas. So the smuggling routes modified into more remote areas here in southern Arizona. Unfortunately, that has resulted in some increased deaths for us that we just didn't have in the past.
The COLIBRI Center for Human Rights tries to match reports of the missing with the unidentified bodies in the morgue.
This man was found in the summer, this past summer, and he has a very unique tattoo. And we've been searching for him, and we still haven't found anybody, any of the families that have described that tattoo.
Other clues are found among the personal effects they carried.
We have these little fragments of a story, maybe little fragments of who they are. Some of the items we can use sort of like clues, but a lot of the items are very humble, normal items that anybody traveling would be carrying.
Even the smallest details are important. In one case, a mother identified her son's remains because of the button on his pants.
The button had been sewn so that the pants would be just a little bit bigger, and she remembered her husband doing that for her son shortly before he crossed.
For the medical examiner's office, the investigation is further complicated by the state of the remains.
Here in southern Arizona, it's a very dry and hot environment, and when people die outside, they can mummify or become skeletal very quickly.
This individual was lying in the desert for probably more than a year, between 1 to 5 years.
Our anthropologist can help us with some information that we can't get from an autopsy.
My job is like reading the bones, as some people say.
But all too often, the bodies are not identified.
So what happens to remains when we finish with our investigation is they're buried or cremated, and the county pays for that.
And this is where they finally end up, in a dusty section of the county graveyard, in these two columbria, a kind of giant filing cabinet, a monument to the ashes of the unknown and unclaimed.
Vocative.